Good
I hate
evening.
crowds. I
I'd
hate.
just like to tell you, this is not crowd. It's like a very warm welcome to this special. We are going to be talking about the squad that Hockey India has announced for the Asian Champions Trophy that will be held in Dhaka. There are a few new faces in the squad, and some of the players who were part of the team that won the bronze in Tokyo have been rested. Manpreet Singh will lead the team. Sreejesh has been rested in his place. Of course, there is Krishna Bahadur Pathak and Suraj Karkera who will be, will take place under the goal. There are some other changes as well. Mandeep, Gurjant, Simranjeet, they've been rested as well. And there are some players who've made a comeback like Dipsan Tirki. There is Akashdeep Singh who's in that squad. Sandeep Mishra here, our sports editor, joins me, and also joining me is Olympic gold medalist V. Bhaskaran and former hockey player, coach, mentor Jude Felix to look at what this team is going to be like and whether this is a good team looking ahead to the Paris Olympics. So let me begin with Mr. Bhaskaran straight away, sir. Your first reaction to this team. Graham Reid has come out and spoken about how this is a good mix of youth and experience. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I'm happy for the goalkeepers like Krishan Pathak and Suraj Karkere because CJ's, I don't know how far it will go from here to 2024, though he's very good. I mean, there's not much equal to him. And secondly, first, I think we have to think about the Asian Games, which is about another 9 months to go, because that qualifying and winning that Asia Cup will be the trump card for all the players, because if you win an Asian game, then Graham Reid will have more number of planning for the next 2 years. So I think on the whole, there are some liking and disliking. To me, straight away I can talk about the defenders. My point is that Amit Rohit Das is not there. Surinder is not there. Okay, we have rested him. But I think these players are a surety of the next 2-3 years, because and the Asian Games, it's not the testing time for the new players who are coming. The reason being, in Asian countries, we have the Korea, then we have Japan, we have Malaysia and Pakistan and Bangladesh.
Right.
We will get a lot of space to play. Not much can be, read about each player. It could be like another domestic game. But how for these players who have been included in the Asian Games, this Asia Cup, are going to identify themselves that I am fit to play the Asian Games. Number one. Number two, this one Turkey all along has been there for 2016-17, and sadly he is not there, and sadly has come back again. And likewise, I was just talking a few days back about the midfield of India at the Olympics was the live wire of this bronze medal winning team. But in this, if you see, in fact, I would have preferred Manpreet should have been rested like CJ's too.
True.
We should have brought in Neelkanta Sharma there more, because he's just coming up and he's a quite young chap, and Simranjeet also. I think this midfield should not be disturbed till the Asian Games.
Okay.
They
Okay,
already
some good.
established.
Sure, sure. The good points there. And in fact, we're going to talk about them in detail, sir, about why Dipsan's come back and why was he dropped in the first place, or for that matter, Akashdeep as well. But let's begin with first Manpreet. And since they were resting some of the other players, Jude, do you agree with Mr. Bhaskaran that Manpreet should have got some rest? And maybe because you are at the end of the day looking ahead to Paris, and do you see Manpreet playing that role not just of a player but of the captain of this team in Paris as well? Or should India be grooming somebody else, or at least would have thought of probably giving the captaincy to Harmanpreet in this Champions Trophy, Asian Champions Trophy?
Absolutely, as what Mr. Bhaskaran has said. You see, first of all, we have to know and identify which tournament is important and which tournament is not so important, and which tournament you're going to try and use your players and check out all these players. First of all, we don't know that. Every tournament we have to win. That's not possible. That's the first point. So, in context to what your question is, definitely I feel Manpreet should be rested because then if you can rest Sreejesh, you definitely can rest Manpreet. Is my point, because this country is so big. This country has got so many players. You might as well try out all the other players to know where they stand and how they can help Indian hockey and going forward. Now, also you have to know whether Manpreet is going to. I don't know. I don't know if Manpreet is going to last till to Paris Olympics, but that's something for the experts of the Hockey India to know whether he's going to last till Paris. But if it's a yes that he's going to last to Paris Olympics, then I would definitely rest him. That's the point. And if I know Sreejesh is going to last till Paris Olympics, I'll definitely rest him. These are the questions you have to answer yourselves first before deciding the team, and have a valid point to why you're resting them.
Right. I did sense a trickle of sarcasm there from Jude when he said experts of Hockey India. Jude, you have all the
Definitely.
experience and the expertise to tell us whether, Manpreet will last that long. But Sandeep, one of the question, and this is a valid question that will be asked from here on about Manpreet, of how good he's been for this team as a captain. But and I want to give this example of Sardar and how he was dropped from 2018 World Cup. And he was 36. Suddenly, you started hearing things like he's slow, he's old. Manpreet's going to be 36 in Paris.
I think he'll be probably 33, 34. I think that's
right now.
No.
Yeah,
By
yeah.
the time he hits Paris, he'll
Right.
be 33, 34. But the age is not of concern here as much as the amount of games you're going to be playing. And he has been playing virtually non-stop since the London Olympics. I think there is a point when you say that you need to rest your captain for these tournaments. Pick tournaments judiciously where your best can play. So the Asian Games becomes the high point because you need to win that. Once you win the Asian Games, you go directly to the Olympic Games. So you need to build your team basically around that.
Sure.
So I am surprised that Manpreet is going to be captaining here because he could have easily been rested along with Sreejesh. Harmanpreet could have easily gone there as the captain because he is around 25, 26. He's going to be playing for another 3, 4, 5 years at least. And when you look at the workloads, yes, the goalkeeper has a tremendous amount of workload in terms of training and the matches and all. But I think Manpreet as a midfielder who also doubles up as a fullback, doubles up as a defender, doubles up as a free man, doubles up as a forward. I think he has a tremendous workload which is much larger than most. So I think this was where Manpreet could have sat back. You could have used a team which could have played at the Asian Champions Trophy, figured out each player in every position and then work out what the Asian Games looks like.
Okay. So now this is what the chief coach, Graham Reid, has said. He said, while selecting this team, we now must have our eyes on the future. It takes a deep and strong squad to build sustained success. So players have to be given opportunities to perform. We picked a team that has a good mix of experience and younger guys who will have their chance to show what they can do. We'll talk a little bit more about whether this is a good enough team with a good mix of experience and younger guys. But let's talk about one player who's made a comeback to this side, and that is Akashdeep Singh. People were shocked when his name was missing from that list of the players that made it to the Tokyo Olympics. And, that question needs to be asked as well as to how was he missing from that list and why has his name been added. But here is Akashdeep talking to News 9, and he's spoken about what it felt like when he didn't find his name in that list. Listen in before we go any further.
मैंने जैसे पहले सारे सभी टूर्नामेंट खेले थे। मेरा खुद का भी एम था कि हमारा ओलंपिक्स में, वर्ल्ड कप में मेडल हो। तो मेरे को खुद बहुत डिसअपॉइंट थी जब टीम अनाउंस हुई, क्योंकि मैं बहुत कॉन्फिडेंट था कि मेरा टीम में नाम होगा। जिस हिसाब से मेरा ट्रेनिंग लेवल किसी लेवल पे ट्रेनिंग कर रहा था और ट्रेनिंग मैच खेल रहे थे, तो मेरे को था कि मेरा सिलेक्शन होगा। बट वो बहुत बड़ी डिसअपॉइंट थी। और मैंने घर आके फिर बात की, घर वालों ने थोड़ा मेरे को हौसला दिया कि चलो कोई बात नहीं, नेक्स्ट टाइम है ना, आप अपनी मेहनत करते रहो। इसी वजह से थोड़ा ठीक हुआ।
Sandeep, you had spoken to him. Obviously, he was disappointed. And so were a lot of people who thought that he should have been there. You were one of them. What seems to have changed? How is it that he's come back?
I don't know, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, it was surprising. I mean, like, okay, fine, you can always use the word shocked and all that. But knowing Akashdeep, it was also a huge thing that he actually wanted to speak about it, because he's not a guy who's going to come out. He never speaks to the media. He refuses to give interviews. He's not one of those guys who likes to be in the forefront of anything. The only thing he loves is having the ball, trying to create those moves, trying to get those goals.
Yeah.
And people who understand hockey and who watched him in the last couple of years would also see that the first goal he scored against Holland in the quarterfinals of the 2018 World Cup. But having said that, as a journalist, as somebody who's been following the sport, I also would want to know why bring him back now when you actually decided that he wasn't good for the Olympic Games. So what is he good now? Is he there to fill up the numbers for the ACT? Is he there because you feel that he's going to be good enough for the Asian Games? Now the point is, which I think Bhaskaran and Jude can probably elaborate, that if he's good enough for the Asian Games, then why wasn't he good enough for Tokyo?
Yeah, that's a good point. And in fact, I'm going to get Jude and Mr. Bhaskaran to come on this. But just before that, listen in to Akashdeep on how he's kept himself relevant through this period.
अभी मैं ट्रेनिंग कर रहा हूँ, अपनी फिटनेस कंटिन्यू कर रहा हूँ. हम इधर हॉकी बॉल से भी ट्रेनिंग कर रहे हैं, जिम ट्रेनिंग सारा सेम कैंप, जो कैंप में हमारी ट्रेनिंग होती है नेशनल कैंप में, वो सेम कंटिन्यू कर रहा हूँ. तो मैं यही चाहूँगा मेरा जल्द से जल्द कम बैक हो टीम में, और मैं इंडिया के लिए काफ़ी अच्छे टूर्नामेंट खेलूँ जो नेक्स्ट ईयर आने वाले हैं.
Mr. Bhaskaran, Sandeep's raised a valid point that why drop him in the first place, and then you've brought him back with what in your mind? I mean, is it about future? Because if he wasn't good enough for Tokyo Olympics, is he good enough for Paris? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, first of all, I'd like to, ask the selectors who dropped him just about 2.5 months back, if he's being brought back again, and what confidence of selectors have got of the player. In that case, the other two players also comes to my mind, Sunil, then Rupinder Pal Singh. They're not bad when compared to them. I thought they would definitely be fit into Asian Games. And if they win with these players, definitely sure, because they add balance to the team. You can't try anything new at the Asian Games, because that's going to be the qualifiers for the straight away at the Olympics, which is an additional advantage for the coaches, for the players to try out later on like this. So bringing back Akashdeep and he telling that he had a lot of aim to go and play, the same would have been felt by Rupinder Pal Singh and also by Sunil. I mean, my point is that when, somebody has, at the age of 28 years, won a bronze medal and still continue to play, and they're all trying to, play for the country, I think, dropping them or chopping them, for example, Manpreet is not playing well. Your deep defense is blank, it's gone. You're just relying on only one man, Manpreet Singh. There's not much equal player along the back four or back three which India is going to have. We only have back one now. Where's the other two players? See, we need to assess that way. Like Sreejesh replacement, you are think. We need to think the back four, who are they? Now we have only back one. Out of the back four, what you had, Virender Lakra and Amit Roy Das and Rupinder Pal Singh, we have only Manpreet left out. Of course, Varun is there. Same in the midfield. Now we need to assess that way and take the team up to 2024 if that is a target. If you're not targeting Asian Games, okay, that's your choice. But if you're targeting, my point will be first target the Asian Games, win comfortably, then plan all your players. We have still about 1,200 days to go on to Olympics. So I think that could be the best way to go about after Asian Games, provided if you think about these players whom I mentioned, I still feel Rupinder is still a best chance, because in Asian Games you have only 2 games to play, one semi-final and one another finals. It could be either Korea or it could be either Pakistan.
Right.
Do you think, these players would have a lot of advantages, about 150, 160 matches behind them? How many players have got 20 matches in this starting 20? Tell me. How well you can assess them? If they're going to play only 2 or 3 games in Asian Games, in Asia Cup. Then again, the development team of Pakistan, again the development of, because they all are trying to make a team in Malaysian team, and same with Korea and Japan. So it's going to be a very tough task if you're going to continue and try to test these people at Asia Cup, and even if they play well, I think they can't be equal to Akashdeep or Rupinder Pal or Sunil. So my point is that, again repeat, please have a lovely strong team for the Asian game. Then there's still 2 years left to chop and take and whatever you want to do. And for one player you think he can go up 24. For the same little younger player, you think they can't go up to 24. I mean, I don't gauge the age part of it. As Sandeep said, age is not the criteria. The match made them, the confidence they are in the team is very important.
Do you want to add to that, Jude?
What can I say? You see, what happens when you have too much to eat, you waste a lot of food. That's the story of Indian hockey.
Well said.
You cannot get a player as Akashdeep. So I rate Akashdeep as to the next great player of Indian hockey, which is Dilpreet Singh, who I've coached in the juniors. I mean, they complement each other. So I can imagine me coaching a team where I have Akash and Dilpreet playing together. So that's how Akashdeep is. And to know that he was dropped from the Indian team, that's audacity. You can drop an Akashdeep if you have 10 Akashdeeps.
Right.
But you had only one Akashdeep and then you dropped him. That's audacity. But you got away. You got a bronze medal. That's awesome. Fantastic for Indian hockey. Fantastic for the sport. But again, chopping, changing, it's not the way to go. It's not the way to go. You cannot play around with players and their sentiments and their emotions. It is good to know that Akash is still keen to come out and play, and not every day that you get a player of Akashdeep's caliber. I coached him, and I even met him 3 weeks ago in Delhi.
Right.
I did not talk to him about hockey, because that's the last thing you want to talk about hockey to him. He was there to collect his Arjuna award, and I was there to collect my Dronacharya award. But we spoke everything else but hockey, and that was a trick, and that's sadness to know such a great player was dropped from the Olympics. That's absolute audacity.
Nothing
So
seems
let's
to...
hope
go ahead.
we don't do that.
Yeah.
Let's hope we don't do that. Let's hope we don't do that to players that come in a lifetime. Okay, that's one. Keeping Sreejesh out, I would love that, because for me, if people ask me why you won the bronze medal, is because of Sreejesh, and that's it. Because that's a department which is very, very exclusive, very technical, and he has stood behind the ball and the goal, and he has won. Of course, all others have chipped in. There's no doubt about it. But that's a position that he has done very well, and that's a good move to keep him out and try out the other goalkeepers, because other goalkeepers will be very comfortable, just be second to him and just enjoy being a part of the team. No, that's a good move, keeping Sreejesh out. Having said that, if I come to the new players coming in, like I have some of my junior players, Mandeep Moore coming in. It's long back he should have come in, but sadly no. But I'm happy that he's come in now. I'm really happy on that. Then there's Shilanan Lakra. Long back he has come in, but he has come in now. I'm happy about that. So there are some good positive things which could happen much more often than being randomly done. Than what is going on, and that will help Indian hockey, because you have a huge group of talent coming through. You can't go out and say I want to win every tournament. It's not going to happen.
Well, yes.
You can't have the cake and eat it as well.
Yes, true. But the other question then of Dipsan Turkey. Coming back now, vice captain of the Junior World Cup team that won in 2016. Sandeep, member of the Asia Cup seniors, dropped. What seems to have changed since 2017 to now that he makes a comeback? I mean, some of these decisions are...
no, they are. They are. Honestly, I mean, if you really want to use a word, I mean, this is bizarre. You know, I mean, he had a good Junior World Cup.
Yeah.
He was part of the winning team.
Yeah.
Then he goes to the Asia Cup in Dhaka. And I think he complimented Sardar in that particular tournament, because if you really see that particular tournament, and I was there, I think Dipens played, if not 90% or whatever, because it's very difficult for a junior to suddenly come in, then, you know, suddenly explode onto the full back and then, you know, go and help the midfield move up parallel onto the left. But he had a fantastic tournament. I mean, of course, there are opinions. I think the coach was Shun Marine at that time. And even after the tournament, and I asked him that, you know, so how did you feel about him? So he said, yeah, he's coming up and he'll be part of the process. But the process probably somewhere went for a toss, you know. The question is not of dropping a player.
Sure.
The question is that if you're dropping a first, tell the player at least. And this is questions that I ask players.
Yeah.
Have you been told why you've been dropped?
Sure.
The player doesn't need to tell me. I'm a journalist at the end of the day. But, but they sometimes do say that it'll be nice if somebody says, where am I going wrong? I think that the same thing was in the Harjeet story. I don't know where I'm going wrong. Akashdeep had the same question. Where did I go wrong? Explain it to me and I'll come back stronger. The same thing is for Dipens. Met him at the 2018 World Cup and he says, I don't know where I'm going wrong.
Yeah.
So
but why do I see this with all these players? I mean, it seems like everybody else who's been following Indian hockey or who've been part of it, who played hockey at you know, levels like Olympics, they all seem to be on the same page. But Hockey India and the Hockey India team management seems to be on a completely different page, because this is where I've heard Mr. Bhaskar and Jude, you talk about how good Akashdeep is. It's an atrocity, as Jude said, that he wasn't selected for Tokyo. For that matter, Dipens, like you just said, Harjeet's story.
You know, at the end of the day, if Jude is the coach, if Mr. Bhaskaran is the coach or anybody, it's their choice to select a team. That is for granted, and that's given to the coach. But that doesn't mean that questions are not going to be raised. The same thing happened for Akashdeep here. Now, in this team, this whole list, you will see one name missing is Simranjeet. Maybe he's being rested, but he was reserve part of Tokyo. And I still maintain it till today. If that man or that player was playing in the semi-finals, maybe things could have been different. I'm not saying that, you know, Belgium wouldn't have won or whatever, we would have won. But I think he brought something which was, number one, extraordinary into the Indian attack, and he brought something which was called a surprise. And why are you not including? Why did you rest him?
Right. And why have you not included him? Has he not got enough rest?
Yeah, he needs that play right now.
Jude, do you want to come in on this? Do you agree with Sandeep that Simranjeet should have played it there? And also, why is he being rested now, since he was in the reserve squad?
You see, Sandeep, for just being a journalist, he's talking like a top hockey coach now. It's brilliant. Brilliant. Some of the points he brought in was simply brilliant. Okay. Now, that's what you need. You need everybody thinking hockey that way. Now, Simranjeet was a substitute, and then he bought into India what was the change in the whole Olympics, and suddenly you rest him. That's crazy. That's crazy. You know that. See, these are things that the coach should know. Okay, you can risk one player. You can risk a decision on one player. Say no, whether he's going to play well or not. Shall I take him? No. He has been good for the most part of my campaign. After I bought him in, I put him in, and that's how you go by it. Is what I would have done, you know, and that's exactly what he said, you know, like you cannot be you know, dilly dallying at that stage and playing around with talent which is so precious.
Right. Now, just a couple of last questions before we wrap this up. One being Sreejesh and the age, the whole thing around him, Mr. Bhaskaran, he's been brilliant, and as Jude said, one of the main reasons why India won the bronze. He needs to be wrapped up in cotton wool till Paris, and just somehow it needs to be figured out how you can extend his, you know, his run, how we can make sure that he's part of the Paris plans.
Well, I think it's difficult to, you know, analyze how he can be dropped and brought back and all, because the hockey is always changing. The method of the penalty corner is always changing. I would give credit to CJ doing well for last 2 years because he was the one goalkeeper in the entire world who studied all the penalty corner specialists, which was not taught by any coaches coaching him. He's become so knowledgeable about penalty corner saving. In fact, the last penalty corner he saved in the last 4 seconds or 5 seconds to go against Germany, you can see his experience. He moved much before the penalty corner was pushed.
Right.
That's what the knowledge CJ is. If you're going to drop him for 1 year, if you're going to keep dropping and chopping and not taking, you have to decide where he wants to go because he's a very vital player for India. Because for him, for like CJs you want to play, I find not much closer anybody as of now, unless Kishan Pathak, comes much closer. But again, it's coming closer to CJs is not the answer. It could be somebody better than CJs because nowadays the hockey in goalkeeping is all about studying the opponent's penalty corner. Because even if you see the Junior World Cup, most of the goalkeepers are so playing well except Indian goalkeeper. You saw the Belgian goalkeeper playing well because they all study themselves. It's like, doing a class before the exams and attend properly with a good mind of yours, take your advantage. And that's what CJs has been doing for last 2 years because I know him from, when he was from juniors, right from 2008 onwards.
Right.
He had bad games, he had bad Olympics, but for last 2 years, I think he was a master BN and as Jude said rightly, okay, he chipped in everywhere and he chipped in the last penalty corner, 5 seconds to go. What a comfortable save. He studied so well. That's a golden moment of CJ's life, of India's hockey life. If he say, for example, if he had let the ball go in, the story would have been different. It could have gone on a shootout. See, I think these are things which one has to study on a goalkeeper. And I thought he has played third Olympics, but his third Olympics was the best one when compared to 2012 and 16.
Absolutely, yes. So, it's a tournament to look forward to and to be able to see what India can do with this squad. But a very, you would say, a kind of a cautious approach from Graham Reid in terms of, how he's not really experimented with a lot of players?
I think, I don't know if Bhaskaran and Jude would agree on this, but I still feel that from the Junior World Cup side, you could have included 2 players who you thought are the ones who are going to be going for the long run. If you really look at 6 to 8 years, you had Sanjay and you have a couple of forwards who I believe should have been in this team because number one, you are in a momentum phase of the Junior World Cup. Right. You're performing there, fine, you've lost a game there, which is fine. You're still going to be up for a quarter-final thing after the Poland match. If 2 or 3 would have been included, the transition becomes easier, I believe that. And this is something that I think Jude and Bhaskaran could also probably chip in here in terms of whether we should have taken somebody from the junior side and included him in the Asian Champions Trophy because this is it's a tryout phase. It's not the Asian Games you're looking at.
That's right. A good point there, Jude.
Brilliant, very well said, Sandeep. I would have taken a very good a main player from the fullbacks, a main player from the midfield, and 2 from the forward line. And rest, I would have put all my juniors looking at Paris for this Asian Champ because it's only an Asian. It's not an Asian Games.
Correct.
It's not something and look at the lineup. Right. You have Korea, you have Japan, you have. It's depleted already. What the hell are you trying to worry about? And I'm sure you could have for your betterment, for your advantage. You would have had and looked at all these junior players, and many of them have played already in the senior team. Like Mandeep Moore and Shilanand Lakra is some of the 2. But there are so many other players who could, like for example, Jaskaran. Now Jaskaran has made it in the team. He's a brilliant player. You got to know what's a brilliant player and what's a mediocre player and what's a normal player. A brilliant player, a mediocre player, and a normal player. All 3 categories playing the Indian team. You got to know. The coach has got to know and who to depend on and how to develop each of these 3 categories of players. which is not there, which is not happening in
So
the Indian
Jude,
team, is what I feel.
okay, so Jude's saying that more junior players should have been given a chance because this is, after all, the Asian Champions Trophy. You have, you know, teams like Japan, Korea, Pakistan, and the others. Just a quick reaction from Mr. Bhaskaran before we go.
Well, I think the transformation should happen from today onwards.
Right.
Because you have a Junior World Cup in India.
Right.
And I would definitely say the best of the 4 or 5 boys could be there in the Asia Cup. Because Asia Cup is not much, you know, Asia Cup is not definitely a higher one. But if you're going to think about 2024, I think that's a way you have to, because you already tried some people there in this team, and you're not tried this, because playing a senior, it needs a lot of confidence. I think that's what the 2016 World Cup gave you. 8 players in this Olympic side.
Right.
Why not now? Why not now? So that's very important. When you have a Junior World Cup, I think it's for the players to give an opportunity to smell the Indian senior team, feel
That's
of the
right.
senior team. I mean, what's I think my last point would be like, I'm not blaming Graham Reed, because my question to Graham Reed is that if the same thing of chopping and dropping, will it happen in Australia? Tell me. If the same thing will happen, 28 years, 32 Olympics, will it be dropped?
Yeah. No,
Why that is different? Why this is different? If somebody is so expert with endurance, with fitness is so good, everything is so good. And I remember when Akashdeep was dropped, the press was, you know, the line was, I can tell, you know, what Mr. Graham said was that we need fresh legs to run. Akashdeep is not a fresh leg now. What, where are we talking about? The fresh legs, where is fresh legs?
I think Mr. Reed will say, oh, he's rested enough for him to have fresh legs. It makes no sense,
that has
sir,
dropped.
but
2 months back, it has dropped.
I know.
The fresh leg has come back. Whether Akashdeep has replaced the legs or he bought a new legs.
I know, sir. There are so many of these questions that need answers, but you know, maybe we need to get Hockey India management to come down and sit here with all of us and sort of sort this out, because it seems like everybody else is on one page and Hockey India and Graham Reed on another. But we can't take this away from him, that it was him and the team in Tokyo that won a bronze. So that credit has to be given to him. But yes, there are questions and questions that need to be asked. Logical, valid questions. And questions always help us perform better, do better in the future. So thank you so. Yes, Jude.
If I can just quickly add, let's not get this wrong, you know.
Right.
About winning a bronze medal. You know, I didn't win any medal, okay, and I live by that. But let's not get this wrong by saying that we got a bronze medal, because the amount of logistics, the amount of money, the amount of hours of work put in, bronze is not enough, is what I want to make clear to the public of the nation.
Well said, that, you know, yes, I mean, I don't know how to counter that. Absolutely well said. And Jude, you know exactly the kind of sweat and hard work that has gone into making this team what it is. You have been part of this system as well, helping, you know, children take up the sport and just sort of honing their skills day in and day out. So thank you so much, gentlemen. It's always nice to have this conversation, because you tend to understand what is needed to better the game. And, you know, when you have Sandeep here, who's been following this game for as long as he has, you can expect more such meaningful discussions here. So once again, thank you so much, Mr. Bhaskaran, Jude, Sandeep as well. That's it then. This Asian Champions Trophy begins on the 14th of December, goes on till 22nd. The other teams in the tournament, Japan, Malaysia, Pakistan, of course, host Bangladesh and Korea. And India, the defending champions, will begin their campaign on the opening day against Korea. We'll get you all the updates from the Asian Champions Trophy, as we've been doing with other sports as well. So do keep following News 9 Digital for all the latest from the world of sports. For now, goodbye. Thanks for watching.